of his glory and grace. His word shall not fail you, he promised. Believe him and all will be well. Then go to the world that is dying, his perfect salvation to tell. Turn your eyes upon Jesus. Look full in his wonderful face, and the things of earth will grow strangely dim in the light of his glory and grace.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you guys for being here with us. I have to be honest here. I did tell first service that my favorite thing about first service worship is that they're always here when it starts, and I just have to commend you guys for so many of you guys being here this early. So congratulations. Thank y'all for being here. You can stand and worship with us.
All of my devotion. if you guys, yeah, just kind of hang there a second. Mark, can we go back? That verse you started, Nat, can you imagine what the Lord, with the faith in the room? How's that verse go? Can you imagine with all the faith in the room what the Lord can do? So here's the question. We're going to go back to that if you don't mind. Do you believe he's able? He is able. He is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we can ask or even imagine. So think about the impossibilities that you're facing today, because we're going to look at that Jesus is enough for whatever the impossibilities are that you are facing. I love that line. Can you imagine with all, let's flip through this. Can you imagine with all the faith in the room? Let's go to the next slide. What the Lord can do. What the Lord can do. Next slide. It's going to happen. Just let the way maker through. Whew, I love that. Let's go to the next slide. He's going to move. I believe that. I think he's going to move in your hearts today. I don't think it's a coincidence. He lined you up. He gave us the word that we're going to look at today, that he is enough for you. No matter what you're facing, know how impossible it may seem. He is able. We're going to go back to that, Mark, if we can go back to that. And, yeah, let's sing this together. This is powerful stuff. You are more than able. Amen. Amen. You can have a seat for a moment. If you're a guest, I'm Kurt. I want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us this morning. You can get the guest card in front of you, beside you, maybe behind you, or text the number on the screen, or you can download the Stillwater app, and there's a connect there. We'd just love to know that you were here. Thank you for joining us. We'd love to just connect and just see if there's some way we can pray for you. But really glad that you're here. A couple announcements. Our ladies started a Perfectly Flawed series, and so you can be here on Thursday evenings for that, ladies. You will get a lot out of that. And then we've been doing a little bit of a countdown. We're excited. Here, the Stillwater Institute begins September 2nd. It's a Tuesday evening. We literally will be walking and reading through the entire Bible for the next year and a half or so. We begin on that particular Tuesday, starting with Genesis, and we'll be going. And so if you've never got a handle on why the Bible and how it's put together and how it all fits, and just want a better understanding about our great God, that Financial Institute will be great. And then I wanted to mention Financial Peace starts on the 7th. So if you're struggling financially, this is the conundrum people find themselves in. It's like, man, we're really struggling. We don't even have enough money to get in financial peace. I mean, that makes sense, doesn't it? And I would tell you to do anything apart from stealing. Don't steal. But yeah, it would be really, really helpful. Really helpful. And so I encourage you to take it. It will be here on Sundays, beginning on the 7th, 1 to 3. that evening. Who remembers what's happening on September 7th? It is what? Anybody remember? It's Jersey Day. We're going to celebrate our summer, and we got a fall kickoff that evening. And to get us in the spirit of football and the fall kickoff that Sunday morning, everybody wear your favorite jersey. That's going to be fun. Or the team you represent. It'll be good to be together. We're going to do a meet and greet in just a moment. And if you're an introvert right now is when you begin to panic. But it's okay. Before we do that, we're going to watch this video.
Hello, my name is Christopher Macon.
And I'm Kayla Macon, and this is our Stillwater story for His glory.
I came to Stillwater by God's sovereign hand. I'm a youth pastor and was looking for a new local church to serve in when God led me here. It was a very organic process where I had friends reach out to me. Kayla had some connections here as well. And so it was a very beautiful process and a very ugly time where I was questioning God's call. Was I good enough for ministry? Was I called to ministry? Was this the end of the line for me in youth ministry? And God really restored my passion for students and student ministry when He led me here to Stillwater. It's been such a huge blessing to serve alongside you guys and to see God work through our students and what He's doing through our staff here at Stillwater.
When we came to Stillwater, I was very hurt, I was very frustrated, and I was questioning God a lot. I was questioning, why would you allow Chris to be unemployed after we just had our daughter? I was questioning, how are we going to be able to do this financially? And I honestly was just so upset with God that I never thought I would step foot into another church. And the first week we decided to come check out Stillwater. I was a little hesitant at first, but the second we got out of the car and walked up the sidewalk towards the doors, people were greeting us with smiles, handshakes. They were asking us, hey, what's your name? And it just felt like a family here. And so through coming to Stillwater, I have just found a renewed joy and just renewed strength in the Lord. And it's been so beautiful to just watch Him work in our lives. And we're so excited to be here with you, and we are so excited for what's to come.
My story, your glory, my pain, your purpose, my mess, your message.
No.
Just say pretend stuff.
Pretend stuff. Bruh. And we are happy to be here at Stillwater.
No.
She said just
No,
say stuff.
and this is our.
Oh, I didn't know we were really doing it. She said just say
Stillwater
stuff. Pretending, bro.
I know, but we need to practice. Try it again.
Perfect
Try again.
practice. This is our Stillwater
No,
story.
I'm Kayla Macon. You have to let me introduce myself.
Okay, so I know what I'm going to say.
Okay,
Okay.
go.
I should have got a haircut before this. Okay. We got to lock in, bro. Nat, they're making faces. And I can't see her, but all I can see is her chin and her forehead.
Maggie and Fire not here.
Stillwater story.
You're supposed
For
to say
his
it
glory.
with me. No, you didn't smile. You looked mad at the world. Take 3.
Action.
This
This
is
is
our
our story.
Stillwater.
In ministry. And what? I can't.
I'm sorry, man. I just needed to take a deep breath and it didn't work.
Macon,
And this is our Stillwater story for His glory.
Yeah. If you want to share your story for His glory, we'd love to hear from you, and we may not do bloopers. That was classy. Hey, one other announcement before I send you to a meet and greet. There's been a lady that has been coming some since back in March. She's in a very difficult place, just herself, emotionally, where she's at. She's got a lot of struggles, and her mom's getting older, and she's now in hospice. And we have a care ministry that Randolph kind of, since he came in, helps. And so you don't know this stuff is happening, but this lady's been taken to the doctors multiple times in other different places and helping her shop, and people going over and cleaned her house, people going over and helped with the yard and fixed up, and just a lot of ministry just behind the scenes. But wanted to kind of bring it a little bit more to you this morning. One of our values here is care. Our 5 core values: gospel-centered care, serve, discipleship, and reach. And so I want to read this to you. There's a display on the back if you want to help. Sherry, her mom Betty, is in hospice care right now. And so we're just giving you an opportunity to provide a meal if you'd like. Betty and Sherry Davis, anything will be very much appreciated. Since March, our team has been providing transportation for Sherry to attend church services, run errands, visit doctors, as well as performing household chores, cleaning, yard work, home repairs. And now with Betty in hospice and Sherry providing full-time care, they could just use the support. And we'd like to do that as a church family. You can help us. There's a calendar in the back, and it has just any date that you would be available to help take a meal. And there's a card with their names and the address and so forth. And if you want more information, talk to Randolph. And I want to thank you personally. I thank you that you make it possible for a church and for us as a church family to provide care. It's part of why we're here. We want to be light in the darkness. These are small, tangible ways that we can share the love of Christ. And so if you're interested during the meet and greet, you can go back there and sign up, or after service. But if you would, stand and take a moment and greet somebody around you. See if you can find somebody new that you've never met before. Good morning, buddy. Good to see you. Alabama, and I had a prof, and he drove me crazy. Literally drove me insane. When he was teaching, he'd do this. We got a ring back there, Kim. I'm not sure if we can find it, but maybe. Thanks for what you do back there in the booth. So this is what the prof did. He'd talk about maybe 5-10 seconds. They do this. And I was sitting there, and it just so annoyed me. So funny. I was sitting there, and I find myself thinking, just take them off or put them on. But this back and forth was just driving me insane, and now I'm old. And how many of you wear corrective lenses? Man, quite a few of you. And it makes sense to me now because they're called readers, right? And so this, my manuscript, I write out my messages and then try to get them to where I don't have to pay much attention to them. But these help me read. So when I put them on, I can see clearly, and when I take them off, it's pretty blurry, honestly. I was thinking about the message, and I listened to a message from someone else. And Evan, who was an executive pastor here, is now pastoring in Topeka. And so he did a message on this particular passage, and he was telling the story about his eyesight getting corrected and how he had blurred vision. And I just thought it was such a good example for this morning's message because it's about how well you see Jesus. And how you see Jesus impacts every decision of your life. And so if you see Jesus, and this is your perspective, we'll bring it up. If this is how you look at Jesus, and you have a blurred vision of him, then it's really hard for you to experience the victory that Jesus provides. But if you have a very clear view of Jesus, and we'll pull this up, and you go, wow, Jesus, you're eternal. You're eternal. And that's really cool. You're faithful. You're powerful. You're trustworthy. You're timely. Everything you do has purpose, and it happens in perfect time. Nothing escapes you. Oh, you're omnipotent. You're omniscient. You're omnipresent. You're all this, God. When we see him clearly, you're zealous. You have a zealous love for me, God. You're loving, and you could go on and on. When you see him clearly and you live out of that place, literally how you see Jesus impacts every decision you make. Now let that sink in, because this is such a key to walking in the victory that Christ provided. You see Jesus for who he is, and you align your life with who you know him to be, and man, things fall into place. And here's what happens. This happens to me just even this week. Get up early, go have my prayer time, spend time in the Word. Man, I'm just feeling like, walking with Jesus. And that's all good, and then life happens. You get a text or get a conversation or you find out news. Hey, AC's out. Walk in the backyard. Hey, the pool's leaking. And I mean, it just doesn't take much. And all of a sudden, your eyes are no longer on Jesus and they're on something else or someone else. And then we begin to operate out of that place, and we have a blurred view of Jesus, and all of a sudden, it literally impacts every part of our life. Our passage is about that. The clearer we see Jesus, the clearer we can respond to Jesus in a way that really opens the doors for the impossible to become possible. It takes place in a place called the Decapolis. Decapolis, Deca means 10, polis means city. So the word together, there's a region known as the 10 cities. Decapolis, we'll bring in this map, everywhere there's a red dot. 9 of these are on the eastern side of the Jordan, and it's completely pagan territory. One of those is on the western side of the Jordan, and the text doesn't tell us where in the Decapolis, but in our story, Jesus has traveled to the Decapolis. And so he is going to be surrounded by literally thousands of people. They have traveled with him for multiple days now. They've gone without food. And Jesus has compassion on them. He wants them fed. And there he is with his disciples, and there is a mass of people. Likely most of these people don't know God. And they've been traveling with him now for 3 days. And they are starving. And let me pick up, follow along as I will put this on the screen. We'll begin in chapter 8, verse 1. During those days, another large crowd gathered. Since they had nothing to eat, Jesus called his disciples to him, and he said, I have compassion for these people. They've already been with me 3 days. They have nothing to eat. If I send them home hungry, they will collapse on the way because some of them have come a long distance. You might write this down if you're taking any notes at all. Jesus is having this conversation with his disciples because he has compassion, not only for their physical need, but their spiritual need. But you might write this down, that Jesus can handle every need in your life. They are facing what looks like an insurmountable need in front of them, and Jesus goes to them because he has compassion, and he's just looking at the crowd. And back in the day, they counted men. If you read Matthew's account of the feeding of the 5,000, there was 5,000 men, and they're not counting in the count the women and the children. And so most believe when you're feeding 5,000, you're probably double, triple, maybe more than that, maybe upwards of 15. We're talking 4 here. If you're doing a similar thing of counting households, you're talking 10, 12,000 people that have been tracking with him for 3 days and have come from a long distance. And Jesus knows that they are at that place physically, that if he sends them back to wherever they came from, they won't even make it. And so what I want you to see is that Jesus can handle every need in your life, and humanity has a great need for Jesus to impact every area of life. We need to understand as humanity that we have a great need for Jesus to impact every area of our life. There's not an area of your life that has not been tainted severely because of sin. All have sinned, fall short of the glory of God. So it has impacted you physically. We struggle, some of us more than others, struggle to manage weight. Some of us overeat, some undereat, some eat and then, the list goes on. Physically, intimate, there's a struggle there in most relationships. Even keeping it within the bounds of what Christ has created and called for in the Scriptures. Physically, we struggle to align. Why? Because we have all been tainted by sin. So it affects us physically. It affects us emotionally. Some of you here this morning struggle with depression and loneliness and fear and anxiety and worry and anger and bitterness and all that stuff is because we've been tainted by sin. It's affected us financially. You can go to almost any church and see that the number of people, and if you were to do the basic math, you'd go, most people hardly give to a local church in the work of God. They say they believe in it. Well, why? Well, financially, we struggle. We like stuff. We like our material stuff. We're generally selfish, sometimes greedy, never have enough, always pursuing more. Well, where'd that come from? We've all been tainted severely because of sin. And so everybody has a need that Jesus would impact them in every area of their life. And he's enough. And so what this story is going to do is it's going to highlight in the physical world a need that is so insurmountable. It's just an absolute impossibility. In fact, I describe it this way. I say that we're looking at a humanitarian aid crisis of mass proportion. Perhaps 10 or 12,000 people on the borderline of starvation, and there's no way to meet the need from the disciples' perspective. But with Jesus, remember? A clear view of Jesus impacts every area of your life. So when we see Jesus for who he is, and we understand that Jesus is enough in all situations for everything we need, it begins to change everything. And what we see in this passage is humanity has a great need, and clearly by our passage, some people are searching. I don't know about you, but in this part of the country where Jesus went, totally pagan country, worshiping all kind of crazy idols and believing all kind of crazy things, why would 4,000 people plus, probably 10, 12, be in this caravan tracking after Jesus for 3 days? I'll tell you why. Because people are searching for solutions to the longing they have in their soul. They want it satisfied. And they're trying a little bit of everything to try to satisfy the longing they have in the human heart. I got to tell you, they're not following Jesus for just no reason at all. There's something that they desire that they can't have fulfilled, and they begin to track with Jesus. I was thinking about this last night. I know this is kind of crazy, but I'm sorry. It's just how my mind works. I'm at Walmart, and I'm thinking about, this is a lot like picking out an avocado. You go, what? Hopefully I can help make the connection. When you go get an avocado, come on, some of you have done this. You've gone there. What's the problem with picking out an avocado? You got too hard or too soft. I mean, you literally got one that you're going to buy and not be able to touch for about 2 weeks. Or you got the one that's so mushy you can't even use it after you get out of the store. I think about, people searching, trying to find that thing. It's like me trying to find the avocado that's a good one. I'm just kind of all over the place. Some of you are trying, I think I'm going to try work. Maybe that'll satisfy. Nope, that didn't work. Let me try recreation. Oh, maybe if I just, maybe if I hit my career, my money. And it doesn't matter what we find and look for. The only thing that will satisfy the longing and the need within the human heart is Jesus. Some of you on this very day are searching. There's going to be some of you going to send this to a friend you know or a family member who doesn't know Christ, and you're going to go, hey, might want to listen to this message because you're searching. And usually at the end of a message, here's what happens. The pastor will share the gospel, and there'll be an altar call. And I thought, man, this is crazy. We're not waiting to the end. I'm going to do this right now. Because some of you right now need to respond to Jesus, that he's enough. He paid the penalty for your sin so that God's wrath towards your sin could be completely satisfied. See, I don't know if you get this or not, but we're all sinners. Everyone in the building's a sinner. Everybody online, everybody you'd ever talk to is a sinner. We've been separated from God because he's holy. Well, how do we get back in right relationship with God? God says, here's how. I love you so much, I'm going to send my one and only son, and he's going to live a perfect life. And then he's going to go die on a cross in your place to take your sin upon himself, even though he never sinned. And here's all I'm asking of you. Believe. Sounds too simple, doesn't it? You just believe that Jesus died on a cross and paid the penalty for your sins, and you're saved. If you're a believer, would you pray for those who are listening in here who don't know Christ, or for those who are online? Would you bow your heads? And if you happen to be the one searching, similar to the thousands that are following Jesus in our passage, this could be your moment right now. You just confess to the Lord that you acknowledge you're a sinner. Yes, I am a sinner. I'm separated because of my sin, God. But today, I believe that Jesus died on a cross for me. And he paid my sin debt in full. And I'm trusting in Jesus for my salvation. Please save me. In Jesus' name, amen. There is a likelihood that even today somebody just crossed the line of faith. Yes? If that's you, please let us know. We'd love to celebrate with you. Well, some are searching, but there are others who are not. They're stuck. Maybe this is you. Verse 4. This is crazy. His disciples, after he came and said that he had compassion and that they've been with him for 3 days, they haven't had anything to eat, and they're in this remote place, and if I send them back, they're going to collapse. I don't know if the disciples felt a little defensive at this point, like Jesus is coming to them going, guys, we got an issue here. But here's how they respond to him. And his disciples answered, where in this remote place can anyone get enough bread to feed them? This is different than the story of the feeding of 5,000. We'll look at that in just a little bit. But a couple months earlier, it seems as if Jesus fed 5,000 men, so say he fed 10 to 15,000. In that particular time, the disciples said, send them away to the nearby towns and villages so they can get something to eat. There at least was something nearby. In this story, there's not a QT, a Walmart, a Target, an Aldi's or an Aldi's, whatever you want to call it. There's nothing. They are in a remote place. And here's the disciples' response. Where in this remote place can anyone get enough bread to feed them? I didn't do this first service. I'm going to do it here. Somebody sitting to your left or right or near you. I want you to take just a moment with them and answer this question. What does this disciples' question to Jesus tell us about the disciples and where they are in their walk with Jesus? Take a moment, discuss. What does this tell us about the disciples and where they are in their walk with Jesus? Because they're asking, where in this remote place can anyone get bread enough to feed them? Go ahead, take a moment, discuss it. Where in this remote place can we get anything to eat? Now, I want us to explore this for just a moment. Where in this remote place can anyone get enough bread for them to eat? The answer is Jesus, right? The answer is Jesus. I wondered when they said that if Jesus was back there going, ow, that hurt. Guys, do you not remember? Like just a couple months ago? Like we were on the banks of the Sea of Galilee, like we were up there and we had 5,000 Jewish people. You don't remember that? Do you not remember when I said, what do we have? And you said, well, we don't know. We'll go find out. And you come back, you had 5 loaves, 2 fish. You don't remember when I blessed it and I gave thanks for it and then I gave it back to you and you went out and you distributed it? You don't remember? Like how many basketful did you pick up when you came back? Anybody know? How many basketful did they come back with 5 loaves and 2 fish? They came back with 12 basketful. And Jesus, they're asking him, how can anyone find enough for these to eat in this remote place? And so here's when I was reading this, I was thinking there are probably some of you here this morning that are just simply spiritually stuck. Maybe you're stagnant. Maybe you're just struggling to trust, like really trust and believe Jesus for the next thing. What's that impossible thing in your life where you're stuck? Because you keep coming back. I liken it like this. You know, when, like, if you've ever had these, and we had these as a kid, they were a lot of fun. You throw a boomerang out, what happens with it? It comes back. If you do it right, it comes back. You throw a boomerang. Some of you are living life like that right now. You got some sin struggles, and it's like, here's another day. Whew. Same spot. I'm stuck. I really am. It's like, how do I get out of this pattern that seems to be, it's not where I want to be. I believe you're much bigger than that, but yet somehow I end up at this same spot. I really believe for some of you this morning, as we walk through this passage, you're gonna have like an eye opening. You're gonna go from blurred vision, clear vision of Jesus, and you're gonna go, oh my goodness, like that impossible scenario in my life is so doable with Jesus because he is so enough for this. That's what's happening in our passage. He is painting for them something they can't possibly handle. And he can. He's done it before, and he's going to do it again, and he can do it for you if he's doing it for them. And so if you're struggling and you just are stuck, I want you to be encouraged this morning because I believe God is going to walk us through this passage, and he's going to touch your heart, and you're going to see that, yes, I can trust him for what looks like an impossibility in my life. I put it this way, that Jesus is who everyone can call on to receive more than enough of whatever they need, no matter where they are. No matter where you are spiritually, no matter where you are physically, no matter where you are emotionally, Jesus is who you need for whatever need it is that you have. In the book of John, we read this. It's a great chapter. Got some time later today. Man, pick up John 6. It's a whole passage about bread and Jesus, and it's awesome. But in that passage, Jesus said, I'm the bread of life. Whoever comes to me shall not hunger. Whoever believes in me shall never thirst. He is the one that's enough. He's the one who satisfies the longing. And he has done this before with his guys, and they literally participated. They found the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. They brought them to Jesus. They watched him bless it. They watched him distribute it back. They went out and handed it out, some sitting in 50, some in hundreds. They distributed it. They were all sitting on green grass. At the end of it, it says they were fully satisfied. And then he comes back, and they collect 12 baskets. These are the same guys in this story who now are asking, where can we get enough bread? What's interesting about this in the time of Jesus' life is because next week we're going to start making a turn. Jesus is going to soon descend towards Jerusalem. We've been hanging out in Galilee most of this journey in Mark. But this isn't like the first rodeo with Jesus. Like, these guys have spent a couple years with Jesus now, so they've watched him cast out demons. They've watched him, you remember the guy with the lower through the roof, paralytic, get up and walk, take your pallet. They've watched that. They watched a guy who was deaf and mute, and Jesus healed him. A guy who was blind, healed him. Like, they literally watched Jesus walking on water. They watched Jesus in the back of the boat go, hey, calm, and the winds and waves stop. They've watched all that, and they're still stuck. And I think what happened to them happens to us. We get caught in a trap of having to see to believe. You've heard the saying, right? Seeing is what? Seeing's believing. You've heard that. Probably heard that your whole life. I would say that's a lie from the pit of hell. It's just not true. Seeing's not believing. If you see to believe, then you got to see again to believe, and you got to see again to believe. And the fact of the matter is, you'll never see enough to help you believe. But here's what happens when you believe. Believing is seeing. When a person begins to respond out of faith, then it's like, wow. Then it's like it opens up, and you begin to see things you never saw. You experience power you never experienced. Why? Because you're trusting in faith and you're believing. You're walking by faith, not by sight. But we're geared to want to walk by sight and not by faith. And so if you're wondering if you're stuck, you may be looking for more signs than you are in just trusting in Jesus. Because really, the power of God is in the gospel. The same faith that saves you is the same faith that keeps saving you from your stuff. We get caught in this track. I like to think of it this way. We think seeing is believing, like somebody who's in financial trouble thinks a handout is to get them out of poverty. It doesn't work. What happens when you give a handout to somebody who's struggling financially? Guess what they look for? The next handout. And then what does that lead to? Looking for the next handout, because their way out of poverty is simply the next handout, and it doesn't work. I'll give you an example of this. We had a guy, it's about 20 years ago, not quite, but he was a homeless dude, drug addict, crazy story, came to faith. He was in our lives. And I asked Hunbun, we had 6 kids at the time. Well, I guess we still have 6 kids, like they're always your kids. But we had all 6 of our kids, and so I asked her if we could have this guy live with us for a couple months. And you can imagine that conversation. Well, what are we doing? But we did. We worked together. We set up some boundaries when he would come in, when he would go out, make sure he showered before bed, and so forth. We asked him to do a couple things. We wanted him to record all his expenses, all his income. We asked him to tithe from the first, and we asked him for $25. And we got to 3 months, and I felt like I needed another month, so I went back to Hunbun and asked for another month. She graciously abided. He stayed with us another month. Now, a guy passed away about 2 years ago from just part of his lifestyle, early lifestyle. But you know, from the time that guy left our house, he was never homeless again. Yeah. God showed him, God helped him see that rather than asking for $20, I had to ask somebody, can I cut your grass? Can I wash your car? And he began to change the way he was thinking and living. And when he left our house, we took the $25 he gave us each week, and we gave him a little over $400 and said, man, go get started. You're on your way. Well, some of you today are in a pattern, and you haven't realized it. Maybe you're like, why am I keep coming back here, and how do I get out of this cycle? And this is to show you that you're facing the impossible, but there's one who makes things possible. And so as hopeless as it feels, and as hopeless as it may seem, and you're that one struggling, you're stagnant, you're going like, today's your day. You just look to the one, and this blurred vision you had of Jesus becomes clear that he is the solution. He is eternal, and he is faithful, and he is powerful. All the stuff, and all of a sudden you begin to trust him in ways that you never trusted him before. At the end, if I remember, and I hope I do, I want to share with you 2 stories this week of how this is coming to life right here. It's incredible. I told you the feeding of the 5,000. This happened in their life a couple months earlier. Primarily a Jewish audience. Here's the story, Mark 6. We covered this a couple weeks ago here. When Jesus landed, he saw a large crowd. He had compassion on them. They were like sheep without a shepherd. Began teaching them many things. This time it was late in the day. So his disciples came to him, this remote place, already very late. Send the people so that they can go to the surrounding countryside and villages and buy themselves something to eat. He said to them, you give them something to eat. Well, that would take more than a half year's wages. Are we to go spend that much money on bread and give it to them and eat? And Jesus is exposing to them their inability to meet this extreme and insurmountable need. And some of you have that in your life right now. He says, how many loaves do you have? Go and see. So they go and they find out 5 loaves, 2 fish. And here's the pattern. Jesus gave thanks. He blessed. He gave to his disciples. They distribute. Everyone had all they wanted. They were full and satisfied. Collected 12 baskets of fish full and bread and leftovers. And I found this fascinating because I'd studied this passage so many different times in my life, school and Bible college. I never saw this before. But if you'll give Jesus what you have, and in this case, 5 loaves, 2 fishes, they collected 12 baskets full, and I started thinking about that. He didn't only replace what they gave, he reproduced what they gave. He gave them a whole lot more than they put even out. Does that make sense? And he's going to do it again and again and again just to make sure we don't miss the pattern that he is enough. In fact, he's more than enough, and he'll take that and do beyond what you can even imagine if you'll trust him. Make sense? So look at this. Jesus goes to them and says, how many loaves do you have? And 7. In the first case, with Jewish people, 5,000, they didn't know, and they went and found out. And it was day 1, late in the evening, when they inquired with Jesus. Here, they've been with Jesus, and I don't know, I don't want to think that it was prejudice, that these are Gentile people and they just don't care as much. But it makes you wonder, why did they wait 3 days and nobody said a word about any food? Like, you seemed to worry much earlier when we were in Jewish country. Whatever the reason, I'm really not sure, and I don't want to presuppose why, but it just strikes me as odd that 3 days passed. These guys are starving to death. They're not even going to make it home because they live so far away, and not a disciple says a word. Well, they tell him 7, so here's what he does. He told the crowd to sit down on the ground. He had taken the 7 loaves, given thanks, same pattern, took it from them, gave thanks, gave it back to them, to his disciples to distribute. They did so, and they had a few small fish, and he gave thanks for that. And I can't pass by this. A few small fish, and he could have easily just handed that out and just kept on going. And what did he do? What did he do when he got the fish? He gave thanks. I love that. Don't ever take anything for granted, no matter how small it is. Stop and give thanks for it, give thanks for it, give thanks for it. I love that. When I saw that, I thought, man, he could have kept that fish and just kept distributing. No. Father, thank you for the fish. Here we go. Anyhow, back to the passage. He gave thanks for them also, those fish, and he told the disciples to distribute. Here's a pattern you see with Jesus. He receives the little that we offer. He'll be thankful for it. He's going to multiply it. He's going to allow you to be useful. He gave it right back to the disciples to go do the deal. Others are going to be satisfied. They're going to find the same fullness in Christ that you found because you're going out and you are a dispenser of his grace, which is what people need. They're going to be satisfied. And Jesus is going to amply supply more than enough. He's going to take it, not only replace it, he's going to reproduce it. Jesus is always doing the heavy lifting for you. No matter how impossible your situation seems, think about it this way. You do the easy stuff. And I don't want to oversimplify because I understand the personal challenge in my own walk to walk this out moment by moment. But our part is the belief part. The heavy lifting part is God's part. Noah builds an ark and God floods the earth. Moses raises a staff. God parts the water. Three Hebrew refused to bow down to an idol that's 100 foot tall. God delivers them from the fire. Daniel says, I'm going to remain faithful to you, God, and I'm going to keep praying. And God shut the mouths of lions. Do you see it? If you'll respond in faith and do that part, God will do the big stuff. In this particular case, just take a step of faith. They get the bread, they give it to Jesus. Jesus wants to show them more than enough, and he multiplies it, and everybody is fed and satisfied. Because Jesus takes our little and does way more than a lot. It's so cool. Verse 8 says the people ate and were satisfied. After the disciples picked up the 7 basketful of broken pieces that were left over, it's like, holy smokes. There was ample enough from Jesus to not only fill all their bellies, but to have plenty left over. How many of you ever been to Olive Garden? Anybody like the bread at Olive Garden? I like the bread, a little loaf. So I was picturing this. Here's what I was picturing there. I was sitting there at Olive Garden looking at those little loaves and think, man, I handed one of them out, and I got a basket full of them back right there. I might try that this afternoon, see if that works. That sounds pretty good right now, actually. Well, Jesus is more than enough, and that's what I want us to part of what I would like us to walk away is that Jesus is more than enough to amply satisfy whatever need you have. But if you have a skewed view of Jesus, if your eyes is on your circumstances, situations, or anything else or anyone else other than Jesus, and you don't see him for who he is, you will not experience all that God has for you. I'll give you a couple quick examples. If you're here dating this morning and you're going, man, I know I'm in a wrong relationship. I know it, God, but... And so you don't understand he's holy. You don't understand he's just. You don't understand that his way is that so much better. And so you just kind of stay in that relationship because you won't take the step of faith. Yeah, but I don't want to be lonely. I know the guy's a jerk. I know he treats me bad. I know he even beats me up. He hits me, whatever. I just can't leave him. No, take a step of faith with Jesus today. If you're in a marriage and you're trying to find some sense from your spouse that your spouse isn't able to provide, don't keep going back to that person to try to satisfy what only he can supply, what only he can satisfy. If you're chasing the money train, today stop. There's no fullness. There's no satisfaction in chasing the money train. The people ate. They were satisfied afterwards. It's so cool. The disciples picked up the 7 baskets full. It's like, wow, this is crazy. So you go, okay, end of story, verse 9 and 10. About 4,000 were present, speaking of the men. After he'd sent them away, he got into a boat, his disciples, and went to the region of Dalmutha. It's also called Magdala. Okay, cool story. Jesus is enough. I just need to learn to trust Jesus more. He supplies. He does the impossible. Great story. End of story. Nah, not so quick. Several times in Mark, we saw that there's an outer story, and sandwiched in between is an inner story. And in this particular passage, I think that's the case. Because here he's talking about a shortage of bread and how they were hungry, and only Jesus can supply. Well, this next passage, we read this. The Pharisees came and began to question Jesus, to test him, and they asked him for a sign from heaven. He sighed deeply and said, why does this generation ask for a sign? Truly, I tell you, no sign will be given. And then he left them, got back into the boat, crossed over to the other side. Remember I said some people were searching and some people were spiritually stuck? Well, perhaps some of you are this morning find yourself here, self-righteous and stubborn. You have in your head that you're good enough to get yourself through the pearly gates when it's all over. And you can't, and you won't. There's a heaven and there's a hell. That's not a scare tactic. That's like reality. God is holy and he's righteous, and sin doesn't come into his presence. That's why he had Jesus come pay for our sins, so that we could have access back to a holy God, because he paid in full for all our stuff. Don't think for a moment that you're going to make it on your own merit. The Pharisees were self-righteous. They made their own rules and they kept them. They compared themselves to a neighbor or a family member, and they go, by those standards, I'm good enough. But that's not who you're being compared to. You're looking at the holiness of God as the standard. Does that make sense? And so if you're in that camp today, you're stubborn, and you're just going, I am not believing, I'm getting there on my own, we would pray that your heart would be softened to the truth of God, that you need Christ, and only He can satisfy your soul. Okay, so you had the outer stories, bread. Inner story, Pharisees, hardened heart, don't need Jesus. And we're going to come back to the bread. This is the scenario. This time, disciples with Jesus. How many disciples were there? And how many Jesus? Add them up. 13. Boy, you guys are doing good. Okay, 13 people in a boat, 1 loaf of bread. You'd think after all you've seen, you're good. I got a loaf, we're good to go. Well, watch what happens. This is the other side of the outer story. Disciples had forgotten to bring bread, it says in verse 14, except for 1 loaf they had with them in the boat. Jesus says, be careful. Watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and that of Herod. And they discussed this with one another, and they said, is it because we have no bread? And so think about this. They witnessed the feeding of the 5. They now have witnessed the feeding of the 4. And they're short. They have 1 bread, 1 loaf. It's like for them, it's another humanitarian aid crisis. Like, what? No. You have Jesus with you. You have more than what you need. Jesus says, be careful. Watch out for the yeast of the Pharisees and that of Herod. And there's some debate about this in theological circles and commentaries. What's he mean by Pharisees and Herod? Here's some of what comes up. Pharisees were self-righteous. And Herod, man, that guy just had popularity, power, prestige. This one, Pharisees looked like they were really wanted to follow God, and this guy has nothing to do with God. Well, at the end of it, when you put them all together, the common denominator is they don't believe. They don't believe. And Jesus is saying to his disciples who've watched him do miracle after miracle, it's like, how much guys do you need before you're really going to trust me? He says to them, be careful of the yeast of the Pharisees and that of Herod. And I haven't studied this a whole lot, read some, watched some videos on it, but what I understand, and you know this part, that a little yeast leavens the lump, right? And it helps bread rise. From what I understand, back in the day, they would take some of that, and if there was leftover, they'd set some of that aside. Sometimes that would grow bacteria. If you took that yeast and put that in, it began to infect the whole lump. And Jesus, in a sense, is saying, hey, don't do that. Don't take the unbelief that those guys have, and you walk in the unbelief because you're not going to experience me and who I am if you do that. This makes sense? And so we believe that, or at least many believe that Jesus is saying, don't fall into the trap of those guys and end up living like they live. I want to share with you a visual of this, if I could. I want to do it this way. Jesus is manna from heaven, literally, like he's the one who can satisfy. But God had been providing for the children of Israel back prior thousands of years, manna from heaven. They'd go get it in the morning and so forth. You may remember that was one of the ways he provided for them when they got out of Egypt, were headed through the wilderness to the promised land. When they were walking, they'd start murmuring and complaining, oh, you should have just let us die in the wilderness because we're thirsty, we're hungry. He would lead them to a well. He'd provide for them miraculously, and they began to praise him. Woo! Sophia, can I have you come up here? Yeah, it's okay. It just stand right here. So Sophia is the next well. So what would happen is they'd leave a well having praised God because here they were crying, and now they got a well, and it's like, oh, and then they start walking. Guess what they start doing again? They start complaining. Oh, you just brought us out of Egypt to die in the land, right? Until they got to the next well. Oh, praise you, God. And they were learning to live by sight. And here was the reality. In between the wells was God, and he was just as faithful, just as good, just as trustworthy. And here's what I believe he wants from you and from me. I think he wants us to move our well experiences further apart where we don't have to see him to believe him. That we can walk when it's dry. We can walk when it's hard. We can walk when we don't understand and we don't have an answer. We can walk here and he's still faithful. His timing's still perfect. He is still good. He's powerful. He's all loving. He's all that, even though we aren't fully experiencing what we're hoping for. We're in the journey, but we keep trusting him. Thank you, Sophia. Thank you. Does that make sense to you? And so they discussed with one another, is he talking about this bread? Yeah, he is. He started out talking about bread. He showed us the inner story, the hardness of heart. Don't have the yeast of the bread of the Pharisees and Herod, the unbelief. Comes back, exposes them again. Here you are. And so he's gonna rattle off 8 questions to them. Aware of their discussion, Jesus asked them, 1, why are you talking about having no bread? It's like we should never leave here and go, we don't have enough, or he can't supply, because we've heard it over and over and over, right? But I'm with you, I struggle. He's asking a question, why are you talking about having no bread? Second question, do you still not see or understand? Throughout this passage, he's talking about sight. Do you see? Do you see? Do you see? And the word is blepo in the Greek. And it has 2 sides to it. One is, do you physically see, but second side is, do you spiritually perceive? And so he's recounting for them. Do you not see that I fed 5? Do you not see I just fed 4? Do you not understand I can feed you with 1? Do you not see? Third question. Are your hearts hardened? That's a possibility. Do you have eyes but fail to see? There's blepo again. And ears but fail to hear. Don't you remember? If you're a believer, can you look back and see faithfulness in your life? I bet you can. Have you seen mercy? Have you seen kindness? Long-suffering? Of course you have. He says, remember. He says to them, don't you remember? When I broke the 5, and he begins to really press, a little personal. When I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many basketful pieces did you pick up? They replied, 12. When I broke 7 loaves for the 4,000, how many basketful pieces did you pick up? 7. And then he comes back with his 8th question, do you not understand? There they are. Why are you talking about having no bread? Do you still not understand, or see or understand, or your heart's hardened? Do you have eyes but fail to see, and ears but fail to hear? Don't you remember when I broke the 5 loaves for the 5,000, how many basketful did you pick up? When I broke the 7, how many did you pick up? Do you still not see? Eye chart. Do we have the eye chart, Mark? Is it like that? Are you looking at your circumstances and stuff versus the one who made you, the one who died on the cross for you? Because when we see him as the everlasting, the faithful, powerful provider, loving, on and on, man, it really helps us. It really helps us. I want to close with 2 things. I want to read to you the next passage. Some teach it separate. I like to link this passage with it because it's talking about sight. I don't know of another story in the scriptures where Jesus had a 2-stage healing. This person's blind, and Jesus is going to partially heal them to where they can see. They see people, they look like trees. And then he heals again, and they see more clearly. And in light of this passage, and it all being about seeing more clearly, because the way you see Jesus impacts every decision you make, I think this goes with our story. And I'm going to read it. They came to Bethsaida. It's on the north side of the Sea of Galilee, and some people brought a blind man, and they begged Jesus to touch him. He took the blind man by the hand, led him outside the village. When he had spit in the man's eyes and put his hands on him, Jesus said, do you see anything? Do you see anything? Looked up and said, I see people. They look like trees walking around. For the first time, he had images of things that he could now see, but they were still quite blurry. Once more, Jesus put his hands on the man's eyes. Then his eyes were open. His sight was restored, and he saw everything clearly. Jesus sent him home, said, don't even go into that village. I said that your view of Jesus impacts every area of your life, every decision. Some of you are struggling or searching. Some of you are stuck and struggling. Some of you are self-righteous. But I believe there are some here today who are seeing just a little bit more clearly. I want to close with this. Last week's message was about a Syrophoenician woman. And she believed, and Jesus healed her demon-possessed daughter even though she wasn't even with her because her faith was so strong. There's two people that are in my circle that are good friends, dear to me. I'm aware of their struggles, long-term struggles, both of them. Yesterday, one in person, one in text. One of them 6 days sober since last week. Just saying, I took it to heart that if I just believe, and I wish I could script it out for you. This is what it'll look like, but I can't because it's a spirit journey. But I know this, it'll be more time in the Word, more time in prayer, maybe a little less reels, a little less video. Like, no, really, purposing to walk with God. Spend time in prayer, spend time in the Word. Reach out to your biblical community. If you don't have it, find biblical community. Both those guys walking in tremendous victory. Praise God. I said to one this morning, I said, man, isn't it sweet to experience the victory that Jesus can provide? See, we're a gospel-centered church, and we believe that's your way to salvation with God, and that's your way to continue to grow in your faith with God. See Him more clearly. Satan wants to get your eyes off of Jesus onto something else and someone else. I've wrestled with it all week long. I should have known because this passage, right? Pastor, before you get up there, you got to make sure this really works. Let me check it out in your own life. And I'll tell you, man, there was times where I was walking with Jesus and had so much peace and joy and love. And there were times when I let my eyes get off of Jesus, and I wasn't that. I was frantic. I felt myself tense, spoke harshly. So this is for real, and it works. Recalibrate your heart. If you're searching, call on the name of the Lord. If you've been stuck, today's your day. Lord, we are going forward, and I'm going to begin in the walk in the victory that you've provided through Christ. If you're here and you came in that stubborn one and you just refuse, got your heels dug in, you are not going to get to heaven on your own merit. Humble yourself and call on the name of the Lord and be saved. And if you're here and you just need to see a little more clearly and God helped you do it today, leave here a doer, believing, seeing Jesus for who he really is, and it'll be amazing what God's going to do in your life. Can I have you stand?
son Jesus who died for our sins on the cross. Thank you for that truth. And thank you for the way that you open our eyes to help us see you more clearly. In your son's name we pray. Amen. Thank you guys for joining us this morning. If you guys have a Stillwater story for his glory, whether you've been here for 1 day, 1 week, 2 weeks, or 20 years, please come contact me and find me so we can get that video shot. Thank you guys.